You may be asking yourself, who am I to do something great for God? To start a group in my home? I'm not qualified, I have no experience, I don't have the natural gifts, or maybe you failed in the past. If you're thinking these things, then you're in very good company, because many of the people who were greatly used by God in the Bible felt exactly the same way. In fact, it's a good attitude to have because it shows our dependence on God, as long as it doesn't paralyze you completely. Moses was a man greatly used by God. He'd murdered a man and fled into obscurity. For 40 years, he'd been in the wilderness. He felt like a failure, and he felt like he may have misheard God's call many, many years earlier. God appeared to him in a burning bush and gave him a task and asked him to lead God's people to freedom from slavery. In Exodus 3, verse 11, Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?" And God said, "I will certainly be with you." Moses continued protesting, and God kept encouraging him. At one stage, Moses asked God, "What if no one listens to me?" And God said to him that he would use the everyday things in his life to do great works. God said, "What is that in your hand, Moses?" Moses said, "A stick." The same stick that he used every day when he led his sheep around in the desert. God said, "I will use it to do mighty works." And it became the great tool that God used to part the Red Sea, to defeat the Amalekite army, to bring water from a stone, to blossom and bud, and to show that Moses was God's chosen leader. God will use your everyday abilities to do extraordinary things if you put them in His hand. At the end of the exchange in Exodus, Moses said, "O Lord my God, I'm not eloquent, neither before nor since you've spoken to me. I'm slow of speech, slow of tongue." And God replied, "I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall say." Moses obeyed, he stepped out, and God was with him and set his people free. He will do the same with you. Another example is David, who was the youngest of 8 sons. He was not considered by his family to be important or to have any leadership abilities. He said to the king, Saul, when he was chosen for leadership, "Who am I? And what is my life or my father's family in Israel?" And yet God used him greatly. Gideon was another one chosen by God. He said, "O Lord my God, how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is the weakest and my family the least." And God used him. And Paul the Apostle had been a murderer and an enemy of God's people. He was aware of his weaknesses and asked God to take them away. And God replied to him in 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9, "My grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect in weakness." And Paul therefore said, "When I am weak, then I am strong." God is not looking for extremely able, eloquent, qualified people. He loves humility, and He will give you the strength that you need. Sign up with us. Start watching the resources on this site and start praying about getting something going in your area. God will encourage and strengthen you. You will look back on this time in years to come and see that God has used your weaknesses to make His strength known. God bless you.